afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin show for your, Thursday? That's right, it's Thursday. I would know because I had the Crypto Investor Live program today. It is Thursday afternoon, everybody. Hope you had a great session out there. I'm sure if you're along on anything, you did well today. Pretty much everything was up across the board, unless you were along the VIX for some crazy reason. It is, again, as I mentioned, the 7th of July. If you guys have questions along the way and you're watching this live, you know the routine. Type in a couple question marks before your question so I know what is sent to me. If you're watching the archives, you can always email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or put your comments down below the video. That said, let's get started. So, obviously, you guys saw the clickbait. I don't know why I call it clickbait. It's not like I'm alluding to something I'm not going to cover. But I'm going to actually talk a bit about crypto today. There was a couple questions came in regarding it specifically. One said, hey, is the bottom in? Other asking if it's a bottom in for the crypto or for the equity markets as well. So, look, bottom line is this. A, I'm not a financial advisor. B, I have no clue what the ultimate outcome of the crypto markets or the equity market's going to be. All we can do is look at the price charts and figure out what is impacting that from a macro perspective and put those two together and hopefully formulate a plan about it. So let me start off with just a quick run through of what happened in our equity markets today. I'll start down at the bottom, work our way up from our top 7. Gold with our, I'll leave the red, white, and blue. It felt like that's kind of patriotic. We got those two trend lines on there, one that I drew in red and one that one of the viewers drew in blue. And today, on the end of the session, very small compressed little range here for gold, 0.13% gain on the day. As you guys can see, I'll zoom in a little bit there. You can see the small little tiny, compared to the last 2 days, holy cow, today was just absolute boredom for gold. Although it did finish the day in positive territory, 0.13% for gold futures. Although, if I look at the bigger picture here, I'm kind of expecting there to be a bounce in gold. Why? Well, let's just look out here and notice that we hit that area of demand on, on Tuesday. Wednesday broke right through it and fell straight to the next one, and there is the actual top of my demand zone. And today we just hit, or yesterday actually hit that one and bouncing off of it today. So kind of expect there to be a little bit of a bounce with commodities. Of course, that would entail that the dollar sells off, but let's look at the dollar in just a minute as soon as we're done. Number 6 on our list, Dow Jones Industrial Average on the day, 1.03% gain. Technically, nothing really to speak of, although we did notice that today's action, nice strong bull move, may take us right up into this next area of supply, which is the previous one that was established back on the 27th of June. Now, to me, if we look at kind of where we would draw our lines, for those of you who are online trading academy people, my proximal line is going to be at 31,331, and notice where we are right now, 31,330. So we pretty much hit it today. You can see the tail is actually tiptoed into that proximal line, so that may actually be a shorting opportunity for some of you. S&P 500, a similar picture, came right back up into that area of supply from last week. So for you, if you're playing a pullback, a retracement, if you will, into a supply zone, well, these might not be some bad opportunities. I almost bought some more puts today, but I'm going to wait and see. What we're seeing form right now is really a cup and handle pattern. You can see here on the S&P on the daily, kind of cups down there at the bottom, and you have the little handle here. I'm curious to see if we end up getting above this 39.50 on the S&P, which in my opinion, if that happens, will shoot us straight up to 4,100, and I'd rather short of 4,100 versus 39. NASDAQ, 1.99% gain on the day. Notice its picture right back into that area of supply. So all in all, pretty bullish 4-day run for the NASDAQ 100, finishing at 12,117 as we speak right now. Now, podium time, top 3. Here's your Russell 2000. Again, all the major indexes have the same basic picture where it looks like it's stabilized a little bit, not making lower lows, and potentially starting to make some higher highs here. But we'll have to wait and see. My guess is next week we will see this rally back up and remove some of these highs that we put in a week ago. All right, on to our Russell. 2.21% gain on the day, and now our top 2. Silver medalist goes to crude oil, which was due for a bounce. Goodness, thing was getting absolutely crushed out there. I thought it was a little bit overdone, which is why I sold some puts on the XLE. Some of you might be asking, well, why didn't you just go long on XLE or buy some calls? In the account that I did that in, I can't. I can only sell out of the money put options, and collect premium. That's the whole goal of that account. So that's my main goal, and I'm sticking to it. And you're thinking, well, Merlin, you only made like 1.1 or 1.2% on that trade for 9 days. You could have made 3.61% today. Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, or 3 words I just don't care to hear. And finally, probably more of a topic du jour, you have the Bitcoin price chart. 6.58% gain today. It was actually up more than that at one point, but coming back a little bit. The significant part to that is we breached those highs from June 27th, which is pretty important. Now, we'll see if we can get some legs underneath crypto and rally back up and maybe close this gap. Now, before I go and talk about is crypto bottom in, let's take a peek at 2 things. I want to take number 1, dollar index. So today, a little bit of hesitation. You can see we've got a kind of a doji pattern where today the dollar index opened and closed right around the same price, although it exceeded my expectations, right? We breached that 106.50 mark. We're now at 107. Next stop's going to be right around, I think I had the line on there, was it 113? 108.7 is the next stop there for the dollar index. And finally, I guess I will look at, scroll down here and go to the bond market because I've been watching this one quite a bit. I want to look at the 10-year versus the 2-year. You know, we did invert back in March of 2022. And here we are now, inverted yet again. We've been down there for a couple of days. So we'll see if we can actually right ourselves and get back to a normal yield curve or if it stays inverted and continues to drift down. Now, just because I've had this question from some of you, Bill Addis says that the true inversion would be the 10 and the 1, not the 10 and the 2. Well, we almost got inverted a couple days ago, but bounced just ever so slightly. And I thought it might be prudent to look at that one because we did invert on the 10 and the 1 back in 2019. All right. Hey, Happy Mike. It's like, have you ever first time joining chat? What are your thoughts about bear market rally up to 30K, then sell off for Bitcoin? Let me handle that in this discussion, which was sent in from one of the viewers out there. I guess I should give a shout out to... what was it, Darren? Well, where would it go? There was a question here that said, is the bottom in for crypto? Oh, I guess oh, there it is, from Alan. I put it first. So Alan says, is the bottom in for crypto? What could cause it to go down more? Well, to be honest, Alan, there's a ton of stuff that could cause this thing to go down more. So let's first just step back, look at the price charts, and see what they might be telling us. Of course, if we're going to be doing that, we've got to start things off by looking at the big dog itself, which is going to be B to the T to the C. Bitcoin. Let me bring that one up here since it was up one of the bigger gainers. Here's your Bitcoin. So from a price perspective, this doesn't tell me the bottom is in by any stretch of the imagination. If I look at this price chart right here, it looks like it's stabilizing, right? It looks like we've got sideways traversing going on. At least it's not selling off, right? We have made a higher low over the past month, which is great. But still, that downtrend, which started back in November, is absolutely intact in my opinion. So what's going to happen, Alan, for me to feel like the bottom is in, is I need to see it start making some new highs. And for Happy Mike out there, I need to see this thing start making some new highs. So what does that mean? Well, from a technical perspective, if we can start closing above 23,000, I'd feel much more comfortable saying, okay, I feel like we may have bottomed. Again, may is the key word because even if we get above 23,000 on Bitcoin, the trend is still down in an aggressive way. And I'm right there with Big Eb. Big Eb says, I'm in crypto long anyway, have not added any this year, which is kind of stupid. But I don't know if it's stupid. You know, we can make the argument, Big Eb, that it was stupid for you and me to not exit completely in November, right? We can always point the finger in hindsight and say, oh, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. My belief is that in, 5 years, we'll look back at Bitcoin at 21,000 going, man, what I wouldn't give to have bought Bitcoin at 21,000, right? Because I'm thinking 6-7 figures for the price of Bitcoin based off supply and demand going forward. So I don't know if it's I don't know if it's stupid that you didn't buy anymore. I definitely bought some more, but I'm underwater on almost all of it that I bought. Actually, I am underwater on everything that I bought this year, but it's okay. I know that I'm in it for the long haul. All right, so back to the chart here. Alan, you say it's the bottom in for crypto. I'm going to offer that analysis just from the Bitcoin perspective. I think it's important to understand that as I look through this list here, on the right-hand side of my screen, I've got a whole list of different cryptocurrencies that I watch. You have a lot of different things, meaning these aren't all the same thing competing for the same market slice. These are hugely different projects, right? Bitcoin, of course, is just a peer-to-peer payment system. Chainlink, you've got a nice Oracle out there, which is basically saying we provide all the data to smart contracts. You have Solana, which is a layer 1 trying to be an Ethereum killer. You have Shiba Inu, which is a giant steaming pile of dog crap that everyone thinks is special. You have Cardano, which again is competing in that smart contract space. You have Zcash, which is privacy coins. Engine, which is going to NFTs and creation of metaverse stuff. You know, they're all very, very different. Render, one of my personal favorite ones that I'm watching is, where's Render? Bring up RNDR. Hello, where'd the Render go? I guess I'll put them in alphabetical. You know, you have Render, which is a company or a project that is designed to have decentralized sharing of high-end video space on your computer so you can render graphics projects. So to me, you know, you look at where it came from, up over $9, and here we are now at 55 cents. I'm okay buying some of this stuff, but to say that the whole thing is bottomed, I don't know. That's a stretch. So Bitcoin, has Bitcoin bottomed? I don't believe so. I think it still has some downside move. And you asked what could cause it to go down more. I think this is a very, very important question. And again, when you're making a decision whether to buy or sell anything, whether it's a home, a car, Bitcoin, who knows, wheat futures, etc., you should always look at it from the perspective of what could cause it to move up and what could cause it to move down. If we think about Bitcoin, what could cause it to move up is easy. There's a ton of different things. Demand increasing. Okay. I'm not quite sure what that says out there, Mansoor, but if anybody says that that's bad stuff, I'll just block it. So let me know if that can, I can't translate that. I don't know what that says. If you look at all the things that could move up for Bitcoin, it's market acceptance, right? More and more people using it. It's the pure supply and demand equation that goes on with Bitcoin. There's only be 21 million of them. A lot of them are being lost, etc. You have some big market factors like Michael Saylor's and your Elon Musk that might be accumulating these and companies adding them to their balance sheets. So that those are positive factors. But what could cause it to go down? A little something that most people aren't paying attention to is what's going on with the miners. So miners like Riot Blockchain and several others. Here's Marathon Digital Holdings, right? Getting absolutely slaughtered, up 24% today, but still getting absolutely slaughtered on the long term. Or here's Riot, right? A lot of these blockchain companies, what they do is they typically hold their Bitcoin that they mine. And what we're seeing now is they're actually, because times are tough, they're forced to sell their Bitcoin to raise cash to keep operations going. So this is one of those pieces that could cause it to go down more, is the unwinding of holdings. Now, I think everybody understands. I think I mentioned this. I did an XLT general session. I did a digital assets live session. I did the CIL program, and I do this live every day. So I'm not quite sure where I mentioned this. But if you keep your cryptocurrency on a cold storage wallet, like a Nano Ledger, like I have in my hand here, or a paper wallet, or something that's not on an exchange, then you have essentially removed that from liquidity. So let's say that there's only 1,000 of a specific coin, right? Just making up the example. If all 1,000 of those are kept on an exchange, that means that all of those are tradable. So the full 1,000 coins is liquid. However, let's say I take 5 of those coins and I buy them for myself and I put them on this cold storage device. It's no longer on the exchange, which means that nobody can buy or sell what I have on this device. It's removed from supply. So what that ultimately means is now the total liquid supply is only 995. And the more people that keep their crypto off exchanges, the more it eats away at the supply available, which is why miners holding their Bitcoin becomes so important. If a miner holds its Bitcoin, it's not part of supply. So if demand increases and supply is decreasing, where does price go? It shoots up. So that's one of the main reasons that I think you could see this thing move up, is if miners hold it, but now they're selling, which I think adds further downside pressure. So those are two factors that I think could cause Bitcoin to go down more, but that's not the big one. The big one right now is what's going on with the lending space. We're talking BlockFi, Celsius, Nano, Voyager, Crypto.com. These lending protocols, they all seem to have exposure to Three Arrows Capital, and we're seeing a lot of defaults in that space. If that happens, there could be forced liquidation of assets from these lending protocols, which are using Bitcoin as collateral, and that could further cause this market to sell off. And I think that part of what we've been seeing has been those liquidations. That's 3 pieces. Oop. And lastly, another very important one is leverage. As an American, I don't really get leverage in the crypto space. I can't. They won't offer it. But if you live internationally and you use things like Binance or KuCoin or Bybit, you can get 10, 50, 100, 500 to 1 leverage out there. So what we're seeing is a lot of individuals, because the market has dropped so much, they make the novice mistake and say, oh, it dropped 70, 80%, it has to go back up. And they go all in on a 100-to-1 leveraged instrument product that if they are right, they'll make a killing. But most likely a small tick down, it drops and they're forced to liquidate their position. So you're getting liquidations as well in that space. So that 5 things I think I just mentioned that I think could continue to drop crypto even more. Now, we are seeing, I guess, a calming going on with regards to those protocols, those Celsius, those BlockFi, and Voyager. There was a question that came in here. Let me get to this one because it was sent in on the YouTube channel. Darren says, you talked about Celsius and Voyager, but would you expand on the BlockFi situation? I was under the impression they are still solvent. Yes, they are still solvent. However, they do have exposure. It's coming out. They have exposure to Three Arrows Capital and Alameda Research, which is Sam Bankman-Fried's initial startup, which is basically the incubator for so many different projects. Apparently now they are talking about having exposure to Three Arrows Capital. So it's all one really messed up, convoluted mess going on. And I think that you'll have pressure down to the downside on cryptos until that gets sorted out, right? If we get to the point that all the issues are resolved, then I'm going to go back in and move my stuff off of cold storage and put it back into lending protocols. But I want to make sure that this garbage that's in the system right now is filtered out. What else could push it down? We don't know about the Three Arrows Capital bankruptcy liquidation. Right now, you're going to see companies going into bankruptcy. For example, you saw Voyager a couple days ago announce their bankruptcy. They filed Chapter 11, which is restructuring. Well, what's going to happen with Three Arrows Capital's assets? Are those going to be forced liquidated? If they're forced to sell any digital asset holdings to the market, what's going to happen? Market's going to go down even more. And perhaps we're already in a situation that's priced in. I mean, I could make the argument by looking at this price chart that it's already priced in, and that these huge down moves we've seen since March, when this really became a big issue, actually May, when UST and Terra went down, that was the big catalyst, and all of a sudden, we went from 40,000 on Bitcoin to sub 20. So we've had a 50% drop in just under a couple of months. So I think that there still is some shakeout with regard to the bankruptcy situation. Big Eb said, I think global liquidity may get wonky soon, so may help solid crypto like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Yeah, I think that you're probably best to go with the bellwether names. If you look at, one of the things we talked about in the Crypto Investor Live program this morning was the rollout and conversion from Ethereum from a proof of work network to a proof of stake. We had a rollout to one of their second test net happen yesterday, and there's a third test net to go. After that, they do a mainnet rollout, which should happen in August or September. If that happens and goes smoothly, that's a huge weight off of the crypto world. I think a lot of people are just waiting for that to happen because I think some people are expecting Ethereum to fail and stumble, which is why we've seen Ethereum's chart look so appallingly bad, or one of the reasons we've seen Ethereum's chart look so appallingly bad. Here's Ethereum. So, big downside move in Ethereum, and it just looks weaker and weaker and weaker. That said, price chart looks good over the last, let's say, 3 weeks. Stabilized, showing some strength. Would not surprise me to see a nice little pop here. And I think, personally, Ethereum is going to pass this with flying colors. When that happens, for those of you that are holding networks that crash regularly, like Solana, right? Solana may not get back up to its pre-collapse height of 130, 140. Why? Well, because Solana, and I'll run through a couple other ones. You have Solana, you have, there's Luna, but Luna's gone. You have, Cardano. Cardano's another one. You have Atom, right? A lot of these companies are going to start feeling the pinch because if Ethereum does pull this off, there's no need for a Solana. Ethereum will be rather quick and do enough transactions per second. Solana has been eating the lunch of Cardano right now, of Ethereum, right? All of these other smart contract platforms, Cardano, Solana, Atom, Polkadot, they've all been beneficiaries. Algorand, Avalanche, they've all been beneficiaries of the misfortunes of Ethereum. But if Ethereum can pull it off, you'll probably see those ones get weaker. So in my portfolio, I think what I'm doing is I'm looking more and more into, as Big Eb says, the bellwethers. What are my blue chips in the space? I would say Bitcoin and Ethereum are your number 1 and number 2 holdings. They are in my portfolio. If you look at some of these second tier ones, like I mentioned, Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, etc., they still have their problems, although some of them are doing rather well. Avalanche has been one of the best performers. So is Atom, Cosmos, one I'm pretty big on and have in my portfolio. But I think that you can concentrate your holdings in the big names, and then you spread it around a portion of your portfolio into some of the tertiary names that you think might do well. Again, there are some deep discounts in this space right now, which is great. Let's see what else. Which brokerage house do I need to open a minimal account in order to get CliK real-time data? Not sure, Michael. I'm not sure. It used to be TastyWorks, but I'm not sure if that happened. I hear talk tracks about different brokerage firms connecting, but I don't know. I'm not involved in those conversations, but I think TastyWorks was the one. So, Darren, as far as BlockFi goes, since you said, can you expand on BlockFi? I do think they have exposure. So I pulled almost everything off of my BlockFi account. The only reason that I have BlockFi is because I have a BlockFi credit card that rewards me in Bitcoin. Other than that, I pulled all my holdings off of BlockFi a long time ago because there's no point. You don't really get paid to keep anything there. So why would you keep it at BlockFi? BlockFi pays you almost nothing. It's one of the lowest in the industry with regards to lending rates. There you go. So hopefully that helped you on that one. So I guess that's my take on it. Is the crypto bottom in? I don't believe so. I'd like to hope so, but I still think that there's some stuff that needs to be washed out. We still don't have any clear regulatory direction. We still don't have any closure to the Celsius, Terra Luna, UST stablecoin issue, and the lending protocol. So those three big things, I think, are going to keep downward pressure on the market. Unfortunately, I do think you'll see it drift down, but if it doesn't, great. I have some long-term holdings. If it does drift down, then I'm going to be adding to my positions. At this point, there's only one that I'm going to be adding pretty much no matter what. That's Bitcoin. And there's two others that I'm interested in, but one I'm just waiting on. That's the Secret Network. I'm not buying any of the Secret Network just because it looks a little suspect, but it's a great idea. And then Render is probably the next acquisition I will be making for my portfolio just because it's something that is not cryptocurrency dependent, meaning if the whole crypto industry starts to struggle, this shouldn't have a factor on it because it's the technology. It's sharing a rendering computers around the world. To me, that's great regardless of what crypto does. So those are the kind of projects I'm looking for going forward. Just stake DOT on Kraken. Cool. Yeah, you got to love 12%, right? 12% on Kraken ain't too shabby. Any other questions you guys want me to go into with regards to the crypto world? I see Happy Mike says, Bitcoin is crazy. I could see a rise to even 40,000 then sell off. Got to get everyone on the wrong side. I don't know if that's necessarily. I know with equities that is. We don't have the institutional involvement, in my opinion, in Bitcoin yet. So to see it rally up to 30,000, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Here is the 30,000 mark's got a little blue line on it, but I'll add another one. So there's your 30,000 mark in red. Sure, I mean that's a very logical target. Be right in the middle of that zone. And the way that Bitcoin moves, hell, that's a 50% jump from current levels. Yeah, that could happen very, very, very quickly. So, yeah, I don't think 40. If it hits 40, then you're already in the uptrend, and I'm not worried about it selling off. I think at this point you're just squashing everybody out of the system, and then you'll have all of a sudden a resurgence back to the upside. So, yeah, to me, you get above, let's say, a close above 32,000 on Bitcoin, then I think it's time to start staying long and strong. Have I looked into any play-to-earn NFT games? Yeah, I have. It's funny that you have all these NFT games, and there's dozens of them. Most of them are an absolute joke. In order to make money, so you pay to earn, right? Play to earn. The truth of the matter is, for most of these NFT games, it says play to earn, right? Okay, you can play it, but you're never going to earn anything. You might earn like 2 or 3 cents. Who cares? Unless you have like the big guns or the big ships or the big knights or the big weapons, and the only way you get those is you have to buy those. And now you might be able to earn a little bit more. But what I've noticed in all the games that I've played, which is quite a bit, Axie Infinity, Star Atlas, Decentraland, I haven't messed around with Sandbox, but I've played around with probably a dozen different games. Crazy Tower Defense is another one. To me, it's not worth it from a play-to-earn perspective because there's people who get all these NFT drops, and you'll go into a game and try to buy some spaceship, but somebody was given 50 of those spaceships for free, and they're going to crush you, and you'll never make a penny. So it's been a struggle. You made $30,000 playing Upland? Wow, congrats. That's pretty awesome. There you go. So you had to pay. Yeah, and here's the thing, Mike. a lot of people are going to look at that and go, you know, I'm going to play Upland and I'll hopefully make some money on it. And if you go in there without paying anything and buying the pieces you need, you're never going to compete. So the only way that Mike made this money is because he put in some money in it. So cool. Good for you. Glad it's working. Rob B says, will we be able to recover any USD still held on Voyager? So to add to this crypto bottom in, right, and that's kind of the discussion for today, I think that one of the big challenges for this whole space is what's going to happen with these firms, Voyager and Celsius. Those are the two big names right now. I'm also hearing about troubles with Crypto.com. So my kind of cautionary advice to everybody is pull all your money off of lending protocols and just put it in your pocket, right? Put it in your pocket, put it in your cold storage wallet, get it off of an exchange, get it off the lending protocols until this all gets settled, and then maybe get back in. With Celsius, the good news is their liquidation price has dropped. Let me see what it is today. I'll bring up a chart here, or bring up a price. See, Celsius liquidation price. So basically what happens is if Bitcoin gets, oh wow, this is great news. If you're like me and have something at Celsius, you've been aggregated because it's been frozen, right? Frozen. You can't do anything about it. So Celsius is liquidation price, which means if Bitcoin got to a specific value, they would be forced to liquidate their assets and basically go bankrupt. That was like 18,000, then it dropped to 14, then 12, and I saw a couple days ago it was 8, and then it dropped to 4, and now it's at 2,700. That means if Bitcoin gets all the way down to 2,700, then Celsius is gone and all my money is going to disappear. However, they're doing what they can right now to shore up those loans and make their debt obligations. And all of a sudden, it's making them look, honestly, I got to hand it to Celsius. They could easily have just said, screw it, we're done, fold up, who cares, walk away. But they're like fighting to keep this thing alive. So I have to, hats off to Celsius if they can pull this off, because that means I get access to my $25,000 that's stuck there. Now, Voyager, on the other hand, froze all their accounts and filed Chapter 11. Now, remember, if you filed Chapter 11, it's a restructuring. It's not a liquidation of assets. It's a debt restructuring, which I think would save people like me. I have some cryptocurrency sitting at Voyager. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it all off in time. I was scrambling to, but need another 3 days at the limits that they allow me to pull out. Will we get it back from Voyager? I believe so, but I'm not... I would say I'm like a 65% confident you'll get your money back from Voyager. We'll see what happens in the debt restructuring. All right, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go, if they'll make it. And the key is it's going to be a while, right? You might have to wait a while to get that money out. The good news is your money that's at Celsius, they're still paying monthly rewards. Let me see if Voyager is. I don't know if Voyager is still paying. Remember, they've frozen assets, so I'm not sure if they're paying or not. I can share my screen with you so you guys can see. 1 second as I log in here. It's kind of fun to... come on. Shout out to Dave for setting me up with this program. It's a really kind of cool program that he said bought me that I can actually share my screen with you guys from my cell phone. So let me go to Voyager real quick just to see if they are honoring or still paying interest. They probably are. All right, so here is... So I can go into the portfolios. You guys can... Oh, you can't see that because I'm not showing it to you. There you go. So that's how much I've got stuck at Voyager right now. So obviously I'm not very happy. I have 24,000 just sitting there wishing I could get it. Now if I go here to it's not orders and transfers, you can see so they are still paying rewards. You can see here they're paying me my reward on my Litecoin, my Bitcoin, and the small amount of Ethereum I have sitting there still. That's awesome, right? Great. Keep paying me my rewards. That kind of makes me feel a little bit better that there might actually be some hope at the end of that rainbow. But, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I just don't know if you can count on getting your money back from Voyager or Celsius. Right now it's frozen, so it doesn't look very good. Jackson Morgan says, I honestly think 17.5 was the bottom. Yeah, I'm not sharing that confidence. I mean, I hope you're right. Who knows? You might be right. I just think that there's too many negative overhead pieces above us right now that would cause potentially Bitcoin to go down even lower. I mean, look at this, zoom out here. You can make the argument that right where I have this line, which is like 18,000, that's that last major area where there was a huge demand zone and a monster rally out. Yeah, that could be a bounce point, but I'm never going to hang my hat too aggressively that that's the bottom. The trend right now is telling me that we're still going to go down. Like I said, if we get above some of these most recent highs, let's say 24,000 on Bitcoin, then I might start changing my tune. But as we know, picking tops and picking bottoms leaves someone with stinky fingers. I was so little crypto, I don't even care. Exactly. Well, that's good, Doug. That's good. Let's see, what else do I got? I still see Bitcoin following a 4-year cycle when viewed an all-time. Yep. Tom, and that's a good thing. What I've done is I actually, for the CIL, I'm not going to do it here, but for the CIL, I've actually put that 4-year cycle on and mapped out. And that 4-year cycle tells me from the percentage drops and how the cycle runs, 10,000. That's why I've been saying 10,000 on Bitcoin. Look, I hope it doesn't get there, but that's what the target would be based off of just pure repetitive patterns on a 4-year cycle that Bitcoin has been holding to pretty clearly. All right, let me go to some more questions. Yeah, think you get pennies on the dollar, Big Ab? I hope not. I hope that there's more. So let's just take a step back from the crypto world and go to what Gio asked here. Gio posted this one on the YouTube channel as well, so thank you, Gio, for doing that. He says, I'm mainly in cash and waiting for the market bottom. When do you think the market will bottom, and what signs are there to watch to determine for the market bottom? Well, as you know, there's nothing definitive that says this is the end of a downtrend, but let's go back up and look at those major market indexes. And you can see it looks pretty much like crypto, right? Notice we're making kind of a cup and handle pattern right now. It's starting to form some higher lows. It's really got to break above some of these key levels. Like, for example, you need to get above 39.55 would be the number for me on the S&P, where I would say, okay, we're probably going to jump back up to this 4,100 mark. Is the bottom in? I don't think so. I think there's still too much overwhelming negative issues going on in the world. Like I say, you saw some unemployment numbers today that were a little worse, right? Your unemployment claims ticked up just a hair. Tomorrow is really the big day. Tomorrow we have the unemployment rate, which right now the expectation is 3.6. My gut tells me that it's probably going to be in line with 3.6 or just a tick higher at 3.7. What program is that you're... it's actually really cool. It's called Reflector 4. Reflector 4 is the name of that program. It's really a cool little piece that we use in the CIL all the time because I have a lot of accounts on my phone, so it's nice to just share visuals, etc. So very, very cool piece. So what signs am I looking for, Gio? Multiple, but I guess I would say I'm primarily looking at price, right? I'm just looking at, what is the trend doing, using that as my major direction, right? In this case, you can see that we clearly have a downward direction in the market. I know that some of you would zoom out and go, wait a minute, we have a big uptrend if you look all the way back out to 2009. Yeah, we do. But I'm not worried about that because I'm not buying something in the equity markets and holding for 5 years. I'm trading over the next couple weeks. So for me, this is what matters. So to me, it's a downtrend until it's not. We could put moving averages on there if you want, all that kind of stuff. Personally, I think that's a waste of time. Just look at the price chart. So what will be noteworthy for me, Gio, where I'll start to become a little bit more bullish, not overtly, but a little more bullish, would be if we start making some new highs. And again, I mentioned this the other day, I feel like right now is a moment where in the equity markets, everybody is bearish. I even have, the top analysts on TV are like, oh, markets are going to be going down. That leads me to believe that you're going to see a surge up to wash people out. Get all these shorts, squeeze them out, have a nice pop, who knows, maybe to 41, 42, or maybe even higher, and then it will come back down. The truth of the matter, I think we would all agree, is we are not seeing massive declines yet in inflation numbers. We are not seeing GDP growth surging. Quite the opposite. We're seeing it tank. We are not seeing unemployment continue to shrink dramatically. It's flatlined and actually starting to tick up a little bit. There's a lot of other data. Retail sales are really ugly. You had construction numbers really ugly. You have the housing. So there's all of these factors, not to mention the unwinding of the Fed's balance sheet, which I think is probably the biggest piece that most people just don't understand, is the removal of money supply. So I see more pressure on this market to the downside still, but that's macro pieces, right? I'm going to be market dependent, and I will make my decisions based off this chart right here, and I'll let you know on this program when I make those decisions. Like been telling you about pretty much every trade, not every trade, but I tell you a lot of the trades I've got going on here, so to give you transparency and you guys can see what's going on in my mind and how I tie it to the charts. I'm looking at selling crypto-related puts. Premiums look good when strikes are at a 50% drop. Yeah, so how are you going to do that, Tom? Are you basically looking at something like MSTR, right? MicroStrategy. So puts on MicroStrategy is another. I've heard a couple people mention that. I actually think one of the viewers mentioned that one. Where was that one? I'll have to find that question. But you could use something like MicroStrategy as a proxy for Bitcoin. There was a couple people have asked me about MicroStrategy and what would I do with that one. It's like, look, you have to understand that if MicroStrategy is, people say MicroStrategy is a proxy for Bitcoin, right? If you own MicroStrategy, you're pretty much buying Bitcoin. While that may be true, you have to remember that the large part of the reason that MicroStrategy has all the Bitcoin that they have is because they borrowed money to get it. So there's a big difference. Bitcoin is not going to go bankrupt. However, the company MicroStrategy may go bankrupt if Bitcoin falls enough and forces liquidation of their portfolio, right? Which could happen. Any place to get yearly candle charts instead of monthly candles? Some platforms used to have that. This one just goes up to monthly, but I don't know offhand, Chino. I don't know offhand. I think TradeStation actually had one. Let me see. I think I closed my TradeStation out, but I think they used to have a yearly chart. In other words, quarterly as well. Some platforms have that, but I think TradingView, which I'm using here, just has the basics and gets us up to a monthly. So yeah, if you're selling premium, I don't see why not. You just got to be careful, right, Tom? Because this thing moves so much, especially when you're looking at Bitcoin. I guess you could be looking at ETFs like BITO, right? Look at BITO or BITI, which, again, I'm not a big fan of these futures ETFs for Bitcoin, but they are available for you to be going with options on. Plus, you could probably do options on Bitcoin futures itself. Yeah, BITO. That's probably the most liquid, right? I don't know how the liquidity of it is. So if you look here, and let's just go to a daily. Let's go to BITO. So for those who don't know, BITO is the first Bitcoin futures that came to market, and you have pretty decent volume. This is a daily basis. It's trading 6-7 million a day. Great liquidity. But BITI, be careful. This is a short Bitcoin ETF, which that's a hell of a move today. This is inverse, and it has very low volume right now, or under a million average. The other one is BTFD, or BTF, excuse me. They wanted BTFD, but they wouldn't give it to them, which is a better name. Valkyrie came out, like a week after BITO, but its volume is really light. So Valkyrie is not winning the battle, but BITO is, and that probably has good options because of its liquidity. So, yep. All right. What else did I have for you guys today? We talked about jobs, talking heads. Trader Joe. Oh, actually, let me go to Skilled Stocksman. He might be here. What time is it? Man, time flies when I do this show. Skilled Stocksman, if you're here, I hope you are. If not, you usually watch the recordings on YouTube, so thank you for torturing yourself with watching me every day. And I normally don't get a chance to say a shout-out to the YouTubers, but I have to give a big shout-out. There's a guy, Ed, up in San Jose, who has been listening to the show for as long as he may have started listening to the show before I even created it. Seems like he's listening to every show. And for anybody who listens to the podcast, you know that occasionally I forget to upload the show, or I do the whole process, I forget to hit submit. That's probably happened a dozen times since I started TraderMerlin show, when I had to take over all the duties of everything. And Ed has caught me every single time. Like every time he is there and he says, hey, you didn't upload your podcast. So shout out to Ed. Thank you so much for reminding me. You're saving my podcasting community, because otherwise I would just forget and not even know. So I appreciate that you still listen to this show. Why? I can't believe you still listen to the show. But B, for helping me out. So shout out to you. I should have done it at the top of the program, but short-term memory over here. All right. So Skilled Stocksman says, so if the Fed cannot cut rates, then the Japanese yen gets weaker. So the historical is that there's a direct, almost 95 to 100% inverse relationship between US dollar and Japanese yen. So if the Fed can't, well, let's say it's not cut rates, if the Fed is forced to keep raising rates to fight inflation, then yes, the Japanese yen is going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Because remember that carry trade. If we look at USD JPY, the US dollar has been raising rates. I'm going to get rid of that red line there, get rid of this one here so we look a little bit cleaner. And I'll get rid of that one because that doesn't matter. So, clearly, U.S. dollars absolutely just scorching to the upside here over the past couple of years. And it's accelerated because people are seeing that the Fed's going to raise rates and they're removing money supply. So you got a double whammy here in pushing price to the upside for the dollar. You're removing supply of dollars and demand is increasing because you earn more by holding dollars because the Fed is raising rates. If the Fed keeps raising rates, then this will continue. We will see more upside potential for the US dollar, especially if we get that combination of the Fed is selling debt and removing dollars from supply, as well as the raising interest rates by the Federal Reserve. So, yeah, if this does continue up, then yes, Japanese yen is going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. And if you are one that's going to be traveling to Japan, you're loving it because you get to buy more and more and more. A BTO ETF would be awesome. Well, they're actually the ticker symbol for BT. It was BTF, but they filed the application to have BTFD. So for those that don't know, that's a buy the friggin' dip. I'll say it politically correct. Correct is what people typically say. So there you go. Happy Mike. That's a good observation. A lot of people don't know that. Oop, I don't need to do that. He says 12K is roughly 85% down for Bitcoin. That is historically right around peak to bottom. So Bitcoin has fallen 84, 85% two times in the past. So this would make it a third time that we see drop that significantly. So yeah, it would put it in line right around 12,000 would be a very logical target for it. Would not surprise me at all. It's hard to imagine that something has fallen 85% multiple times and people still flock back to buy it. This could be the third time it's done it. It's just insane to me. All right, so skilled stocks, I had that one, and then I'll wrap up with this one here, and I'll show you what's happening for tomorrow. This is a bit more in depth. So yesterday I was talking about the XLE trade I made where I was selling puts on energy, just trying to collect some nice, easy, safe premium based off the fear that was in the market yesterday or day before. Trader Joe says, about selling put premium. And I'm not quite sure I understand this, Joe. I'll try to put it in terms that I understand, but here's how it goes. I had a little issue when the price comes back quickly, my puts are losing money. Well, if you're selling puts, you're not really losing money on those puts unless it's so far down below your strike. So I'm not quite sure I understand that part. In the meantime, as I need to wait for the contract to expire, puts being exercised to get the shares. I can't buy the shares at the market because the size of my trade will be too big. Okay, so I'm not quite sure I understand this one, Trader Joe, but here's what my thinking. And let me draw it. Why don't I go to the drawing board? Because Big Ed wants a 1-hour show. I'll dab nabbit and he's going to get one. You're probably not going to get a 1-hour show, but let me see. Trader Joe's there. Let me put this slide right here. Change that format to a white slide. Oh, come on, Merlin. And I'm going to change that format. There we go. Okay, so let me just bring this over here, and I will draw this out for you so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so let's say, for example, you have, and I'll just draw some silly name on it. Doesn't matter what it is. Let's go. Okay, we'll call this XYZ, right? So that's the stock you're trading is XYZ. And XYZ, you see prices are falling down, and it has a sharp drop. And you're looking back here, maybe it's some demand zone, right? And there's your price chart of XYZ. So you're looking at this demand zone, and you're thinking to yourself, well, heck, I'd love to be a buyer down here, right? And let's say it's currently trading at 50, and this price down here is 40. So I think what you're telling me, Trader Joe, is you're selling these $40 puts. And you're saying, okay, I'm going to collect that premium. And let's say, I don't know, I make $5 worth of premium. No, it wouldn't be that much. Let's say $2.50, right? $2.50 worth of premium, which ultimately would be about a 5% rate of return. Great. So what I think you're saying is that price comes down here, it gets below it, so now you're losing money, if I'm not mistaken, and then it rips back up. But you're saying that during this period of time when it's down below your strike price, you can't do anything. Well, that's not exactly true. You could go out there and you could always buy back those puts that you sold. You would obviously be losing a little bit of money on that, but as a seller, that's one thing that sucks is you're waiting for those to be exercised, right? If I sold the 40 put and it's now trading down here, let's say 38. Oh, it's my cursor does that. Let's say it's down here at 38. What you're saying is, man, just give it to me at 38 so I can, or give it to me at 40 so I can unload it. Because what happens if this keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, and next thing you know, it's down here at $15, right? Now you're in a huge, because if it gets to expiration, those shares are not going to be given to you at 15. They're given to you at 40 because that was your strike price. I think that's what you're referencing. And what do we do about that? You could put stop losses in place and say if it gets down, that close to 40, close out the trade. You might not get all the premium that you collected. You give some of that back, but that's your option. You don't have to let those things go all the way to expiration. You can close them out, and you'll know when things start falling really aggressively towards your price. There might be a good probability of it continuing on through. So I hope I understood that question correctly. It's a fairly tricky one with all the little details in there. It says, I only collect the premium but miss the long trade. How can I deal with this situation? It happens to me all the time. Stop loss. Right? If it gets down below your strike price, buy it back and close it out. Because I've actually had that happen to me before too, where let's say it was that $40 mark. I was happy buying it at 40 and it dropped well past my strike price and then ripped back up. Actually, during the pandemic, I had that on, I think it was Carnival Cruise Lines. I sold some puts that were like 50% out of the money. I mean, way out of the money. I didn't think any chance of me getting hit. And I actually collected some extremely high premium. And it fell all the way down to that strike price, went way past it. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a bad losing trade. And then in like 2 days, it ripped up and I never was put those shares. So unfortunately, you just have to, it's a waiting game sometime with options. If you sold puts, like, am I going to get these shares or not? Even if it's past your strike price, you're still just waiting. All right, let me wrap this thing up for today. If you look at the economic calendar for tomorrow, really, there's only one major announcement that matters, and that's this bad boy right here, the unemployment claims, or unemployment rate. 3.6 is the expectation. I kind of feel like we're going to meet that. I don't think we'll start to see the unemployment number really move up for another few more months. I want to see what the liquidations, the layoffs are from a lot of these major financial firms out there. Right now, you're hearing about it picking up, but not super sharp. It's just slowly going. And I think you'll start to see that reflected. Maybe not this number here, but the next month reading of unemployment, I expect to tick up, and we'll see what the expectations are there. All right, that will do it for me. That was your Thursday edition, a little bit of crypto mayhem. I don't think that we've bottomed. I don't think we've bottomed in the crypto market or the equities market, although I am much more optimistic of an equity market bounce just because everyone's bearish on it. I expect that to have a little bit of a rally. So we will see. Maybe I'll sell some or buy some options tomorrow. Depending on what price does, I might start to build a little bit of an options position again, buy some directional ones. And if I can get a nice spike up to 4,100 on the S&P, that'd be another place I'd like to add some more to my position. So need to be careful these days. People have been having stocks put to them if price is trading below the stock. You know what? It's happened to me a couple of times, Lisa, but just not regularly. Given how many options I sell, I'm surprised it hasn't happened much more frequently. But it's always a concern, right? That's why you always want to check your account and be sure, because how do you find out if E-Trade has, let's just use E-Trade as an example, 1,000 customers have each sold one put option on the S&P, right? SPY. 1,000 different put options, and somebody decides to exercise that. Well, who gets that? Which one of those 1,000 people that sold that put actually gets that shares put to them? Is it a lottery? I would love to know that. I would love to know that one. Okay, that's going to do it for me. Again, if you guys have questions, put them down below the YouTube video. That's the best way to get in touch with me, or actually not get in touch with me. I think that the comments down below help out the channel, so I was told. You can also email me. Email's on the screen at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Tomorrow will be a Friday. Very happy looking to a Friday whiskey session. If you have something you want me to discuss for tomorrow, let me know. Email or put it down below the YouTube video. That said, hope you guys have a fantastic remainder of your evening. Be careful out there tomorrow because unemployment is going to be a big mover for this market. It's going to be fun. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.